My name is Teresa Burns, and this is my video portion of the senior thesis for INTS 4350. The topic that I chose is mental illness in higher education, specifically discussing students with mental illnesses on college and university campuses. And the reason that I chose the topic is because it's actually very close to heart. I suffer from bipolar disorder, and originally, when I went to school in my 20s, I suffered from anxiety and depression that was very difficult for me, and it has been even more difficult coming back to school in my 40s, and trying to go through working full time, going to school, and all of those stressors, and still take care of my mental health. And so it was a topic that I realized was very important as far as university campuses across the country. I noted that in the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness, they report that 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience a mental health illness in a given year. And so it's a significant problem across the United States. For 1 in 25 of those, the illness was serious enough that it actually hampered them from being able to function properly. And so where it comes into play on college campuses is that 3/4, according to NAMI, 3/4 of all chronic mental illness begins by the age of 24. And so that has a large number of students, first-time students coming onto college campuses and dealing with university stressors for the first time, also discovering manifested mental illness. According to Egan et al., 1 in 8 first-time full-time students report feeling frequently depressed, and about a third of first-time full-time students report being frequently anxious. And so those are two problems that are definitely occurring on our college campuses and causing issues for students. According to the American College Health Association survey of 2016, 36.7% of their 95,761 respondents reported levels of depression so severe that they could not function. And despite these staggering numbers, that survey also noted that only 35.6% of those students who needed mental health treatment actually sought treatment through traditional campus resources. And so it's a significant problem that is going on these campuses, and the American Psychology Association reports that 95% of college counseling centers saw that the number of students that were coming to them for treatment was a significant problem on their campuses. And so also NAMI reports that 37% of students with mental health condition aged 14 to 21 actually drop out of school and don't finish their degrees, don't finish their college educations. And Baldwin reported that 70% of those with bipolar disorder, which is my own particular issue, are more likely to drop out than those who have no mental illness whatsoever. And so it's a significant problem, not only in that they're suffering on the college campuses and having difficulty finishing their work, but they're actually dropping out of school. NAMI also reported, and this is the most important issue, is that suicide is the second leading cause of death for people in this age bracket. And so it is a health crisis for the United States, and specifically for college and universities as well. Part of the reason that colleges are seeing such an upswing in students with mental illness is because they have greater access. Having treatment at earlier ages, they're more functional and able to go into college settings, and then stressors of university life begin to take a toll on them. However, the college campus resources are very overwhelmed, especially at larger universities, public schools, and non-residential colleges. They're seeing that they simply don't have enough counselors to treat the students that they already do have, and those students are only a small fraction of students that actually need treatment. One of the reasons that students don't seek treatment is because there's a stigma attached to mental illness that keeps them from wanting to reach out to anyone and seek any kind of help for their problems. And the reason for that is that they feel that they'll be treated differently by their peers or even by faculty and staff because they have a mental illness, and so they keep it to themselves and they suffer in silence. So this is the problem that I wanted to look at, the crisis that is facing the United States and facing colleges and universities in particular. And the two disciplines that I looked at with regard to this crisis were psychology and education. And what I found is that both of them advocated for more funding for their college campus resources, for their counseling centers. However, they had other solutions that they suggested that were very different, and they're pulling from resources to try to make those work individually. While psychology, the psychology discipline focused on teaching students specific coping skills for how to deal with the stress of university life, and they also suggested instituting daily accommodations in the classroom that would allow students, similar to accommodations that are made for those with any kind of a physical disability. They suggested that accommodations be made for students with mental health issues so that they would be encouraged and would be able to finish their coursework as required, and really participate not only in their classes but in college life as well. On the education side of the issue, their focus is more on making the counseling centers more effective and efficient, and on educational outreach programs that would help to destigmatize mental illness for students, staff, and faculty, so that students would feel more comfortable seeking assistance for their mental health conditions. However, when you look at those additional solutions proffered individually, they simply don't do enough to solve the problem itself. If you only increase funding for campus counseling centers, then you're not going to solve the problem of stigma that's keeping students from seeking counseling in the first place. However, if you only deal with the educational side of it and educate people to seek treatment, then there's no assurance that those treatment options are going to be available, because counseling centers would be even more overwhelmed than they already are. So naturally, it follows that both of those things need to happen together, that they connect to each other like puzzle pieces in order to make the whole solution work. Additionally, as stopgap measures between the two, students do need accommodations in the classroom in order to make sure that they are engaged and are encouraged to participate fully in their coursework. And so it's important that that step also be taken. And those coping and life skills that are advocated for through the psychology discipline are also important for students who are facing some very serious first-time stressors at university life that they've never dealt with before. So really the only way to solve the problem itself is to put all of those solutions together, rather than taking away from resources in one area to fulfill educational outreach, for example. Really it needs to be a multi-pronged approach, where each builds upon the other in order to create a solution that really brings students to a better place for seeking treatment, that also provides that treatment once they're able to go after it, because it's fully funded, and also that helps students through prevention even of these mental health crises, by teaching them life skills that keep them from falling into more serious mental health issues. And so that's what I discovered through my research of the literature, was that if you take all of those solutions together, the problem would be much more easily handled, and the solution would be a better fix for the problem overall.